All right, what's up? You guys got some good questions here. We're going to do our best to answer them, and I think they'll provide some thoughtful and provoking discussion. This first question I kind of want to answer because it has to do with Unbreakable and I. At Purple Haze 24 asked, "What are you doing to prepare for casting at Dallas?" Basically. So Nathan, are you doing anything? Got him.
Yeah, I mean, basically doing as much as I can, like
Right.
watching YouTube videos, watching gameplay, trying to learn the maps, but it's so hard to learn all the maps and stuff without actually playing them. Or
That
like,
tangible aspect.
yeah.
The touchy-feeliness.
I mean, besides watching gameplay and trying to read everything you can, like
Yeah, staying up to date. I agree. I think you could have said that a lot more positively, but staying up to date on the current news and topics of Halo 4, the things we find out, the trailers that are released, things like that. Looking at all the maps, sort of getting a feel for how they play, even though we're not constantly running around them. Maybe coming up with a few call-outs and that sort of thing. I know with like Abandon on youtube.com/the Halo Council. We have a few call-out videos and things like that you might be interested in checking out. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also making sure to stay hydrated, keep the throat lubricated, and Nathan and I practice various exercises to do this. I'll let your mind wander and take that where it may. Yeah, so that's basically
it's
it.
gonna be awesome.
We're getting excited though.
I know.
I'm talking to people about the game types that are going to be on Friday and the things that are going to be Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be Unreal. Ogre 1's coming back, playing on a team called Immunity with a lot of Australians. That's going to be exciting to watch. There's talk of Ogre 1 and Ogre 2 playing a 2v2 challenge against some people. Puckett tweeted out, at MLG Puckett, obviously most of you guys probably know that, tweeted out stuff you might want to see on Friday's schedule, so hit him up. Let them know what you want to see. There's might be some free-for-all stuff going on with some prior champions and some of the biggest names in free-for-all that you've ever heard of in your entire life. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Watch that.
Watch it all weekend.
So at Joshua Krazer wants to know opinions on settings for Dallas. So what do you think? How far should these tweaks go in regards to out-of-the-box settings or, MLG settings? Where's that happy medium? What can we do there? So you can start us off with this question.
Do we know what settings MLG is using yet?
I don't think so at the current time. No.
They're
Okay, well,
working on them.
Yep.
The two main Slayer game types, there's Infinity Slayer and then Slayer Pro, and I think that'd be great if we can somehow combine the two. I mean, I think we should stick with default game types as close as possible. I mean, maybe I wouldn't mind the first event just being default game types or just Slayer Pro, but I think for the future it would be really nice to see a Slayer Pro with Ordnance, where it's like you get like 1 or 2 Ordnance per game or something like that. It's not like crazy like in the default Infinity Slayer, but it's really weird because if we have a default game type, then a lot of the newer players that want to get into MLG will be familiar with it and they'll understand the stream that they watch and all of that, but that will also cause some controversy. Like a lot of people might not like that. They want to have like the traditional Halo game types.
Right.
So it's, if we have these settings that are super competitive where it's like, 3-shot DMR, no armor abilities, all that stuff, we're not going to have a lot of viewers, not going to have a lot of players. So we have to like sacrifice some of that competitive aspect of the game to bring in more viewers and more competitors. And if you have more competitors, that means there's more competition. So
yeah, I want to add something too. This is another question we got from at the Seventh Beast. With Ordnance drops in Forge, which we can customize, we've seen, I believe it was Bravo and Kevin Franklin's interview, that we can customize the percentages of what type of Ordnance comes up. So in like a Slayer Pro where it's no armor abilities, just sort of tossing around the idea of at a certain amount of kills you could drop down like a Promethean Vision armor ability and then have that for your team, and depending on how it plays out, if that's overpowered or not. But I think stuff like that is a good option to tweak and sort of work from, as opposed to like Reach where it was like strip a lot of the things away. I think keeping most player traits and things like speed, jump height, damage to default is important. letting people customize at least their primary weapon from anything choosable is important, and things like that to keep it identifiable to the viewer, to a casual player that can say, okay, I can see that this is Halo, I can see that things are different, but I can also sense what's different. With adjustments to movement speed, when watching a stream at home, you can't really feel that. So when you go to play it, say in a playlist or a hardcore playlist, and that's different, it feels off. You can't really get a sense of it. So that's sort of opinions on that. What do you think, Unbreakable?
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I really would be fine to just turn off radar and let it play.
Yeah, I agree.
I do understand that a lot of this stuff isn't quite competitive, but what scares me is like MLG does this, you know, they have maybe like 2 weeks to figure out the settings, and then it's really hard to, like, once you've started somewhere, to go back and add in, like, say they take out a bunch of weapons, it's hard to go back and, like, add them back in once you have like a version 1 of the settings. So I'm scared they're gonna, like, get rid of everything and then we'll never get to try them out, and that could really be bad for Halo 4. And people are like, who cares about the casual players? But that is what's going to keep Halo 4 alive. Like,
the
that
amateur players are the guys who are keeping this alive. It's not the pros or anything.
The pros will stay playing the game for years, and, you know, all the hardcore guys like you guys watching the show right now, probably most of you, but, you know, you need the new people that are going to keep playing the game, and the people that casual players to keep competitive stuff alive. And, like, if it's too far different, they're not going to play it, and it's going to be like what happened to Reach. It's going to die.
Because it's not like only MLB players watch the MLB, you know? It's not like when they have a bye game, they're at home and they're the only ones tuning in to the games. It's a huge casual audience, people who maybe have never even, you know, played Little League or what have you. So it is your driving force, so it is important to hook that audience as much as possible. So yeah, I think no radar is one of the only changes I could see mattering highly in the competitive setting. And then everything else, you have to let the dust settle on these changes, to be honest. So I think being able to pick, that's why I almost don't even like the Slayer Pro game type. It's almost too limiting. I'd rather see you have the ability to also choose a light rifle or a carbine. Just keeping it strictly UNSC almost feels too limited. And I think 343 definitely looked at what we did with Reach and said, oh, this is what these guys like. Here's their Slayer Pro game type. When we had been advocating so long, let's play the game out of the box so that we can get the big casual audience. And that Slayer Pro is almost, I think, a step in the wrong direction. Will it be competitive? Absolutely. Is it a step in the right direction? That I'm hesitant to say. I really think we need to include most of the stuff. And I think it's really interesting. And it ties into, I think, another one of these questions. So at Parker Brezavar, sorry if I messed up your name there, but do you think competitive community will use more settings like keeping all rifles or the Strip Slayer Pro? So what do you guys think about the armor abilities? Do they have a place? Are they going to provide for more interesting gameplay? And there's also another question that sort of ties into that. So I'll let you guys answer that first, though.
Correct.
We're talking about the rifles or armor abilities?
Yeah, do you think, like, well, if... All right, let's just tie it into this other question. So if we keep all these loadouts and if we keep everything, do you think that the loadouts will provide more of a certain role for a team? So you have like a guy who's playing like a rogue or a guy who's playing like a tank class. Do you think it'll add depth to the game keeping all these things in?
Well, like I said, while we're on break, before Reach came out, all of the guys in the Reach discussion thread were saying how, like, Armor Lock was going to be amazing for defensive players, and then the aggressive player will use Sprint. And so we had, like, a lot of hype going into the loadout system. And personally, just like the guys at 343 said, the loadouts are really just to, like, personalize yourself. Like, if you prefer using a burst medium range weapon, then use the BR. It's not going to be like giving you an advantage or anything. And I guess I could see some people that like use certain loadouts to do certain things for the team, but I don't think there's going to be teams out there that are like actually like having this guy be a tank by using this and that and all these other things. I just think everybody will use what they're comfortable with, and I do think that, you know, if MLG were to use a loadout system, I think they should include most, if not all, of the weapons so everybody can be comfortable with what they enjoy.
Totally agree. Unbreakable, what do you think?
I mean, like I've said a million times, it's hard to really tell without playing it, but I think at least for the beginning they should try to include everything, unless there's something that's like blatantly just ruins the entire like pace of the game because it's so unfair. I'd, you know, keep definitely keep all the rifles, maybe, you know, keep almost all the weapons, and then I'd keep again the armor abilities for now and just see how they play out. But, you know, as we see with a lot of these games, like, especially in Call of Duty, like there's so many guns, but everybody just ends up sticking to the stuff that's the best.
Right.
So I think eventually throughout the course of the game, like people are just gonna stop using the stuff that sucks anyways. So like, why even bother taking it out? Because the metagame will change and people will just end up using what works best.
I think one of the biggest things, though, in regards to how Halo 4 does the loadouts and differently the Reach, is you can use everything, but to me, the COD tweaks are so minuscule. So COD is like a minor adjustment, like, oh, I switch weapons faster, and that's in Reach, but then you also have the armor abilities, and I think that provides the biggest difference in the metagame, where COD doesn't have that. So to tie into, do you think certain roles for teams? Absolutely. There's going to be a tank class, and say the tank uses shielding at the sacrifice of mobility and dexterity so that his shields actually recharge faster. And then uses, say, explosives, so he takes less grenade damage and his grenades do more damage. That player is going to be able to play a tank class in conjunction with, say, either a regen field or a hard light shield, so that he can be a guy who pushes or leads the pushes and is like a very sturdy player. He's going to be harder to take down. Does he have more health like Juggernaut, or do more damage like Firepower in Call of Duty? No, it's not like that at all. It's just these minor tweaks that sort of it nudges him towards a role. It doesn't absolutely create this role like a World of Warcraft where I'm a tank, like my health is bigger and I do more damage or something like that, or I do more melee damage. It's just, if I want to play like a more aggressive, tanky, take more damage and have a better chance of surviving or be the focus of a lot of fire, I can nudge myself towards that role. Or if I play a flanking role, I can use mobility so that I don't have sprint at the sacrifice of something like shielding. I think the trade-offs are pretty fair. And he can use mobility and maybe armor ability efficiency so that he can use, say, active camo more to flank around and get behind enemy lines and sort of be a better distraction or a better flanker. I don't think it's game-breaking in any way, and I think it adds a lot of potentially interesting gameplay that we need to see played out. So that's why, I don't think we should strip away the armor abilities right away and just stick to Slayer Pro. I think we need to see everything and judge everything based on its own merits. And that's sort of my answer to that question. Do you guys have anything else to add to that? I mean,
well, I mean, going back to the loadout thing, I agree with you where you say like if you like have a certain armor ability or a certain perk or whatever, it's not going to make you into like a tank or a troll. Like
you're not going to be like the perfect soldier or perfect class.
Like an elf or a troll or whatever in Shadowrun. It's just going to be like little minor things that help you. Like if you're a guy that likes to push up, more often than other players, then you can use the hard light shield or shielding or whatever. But then like another thing to touch on would be with the weapons and the loadouts. I do feel like in like an MLG environment or a competitive gaming environment, people are just going to stick with the DMR, light rifle, or battle rifle. But we should at least have these other weapons as well. There's people out there that don't like MLG in Halo 3 or Reach because they prefer the assault rifle to the DMR, but they don't play it because they can't use it. So even if the weapon is not good, we should still include it anyways for people to use, and they can have fun at least in these competitive games.
Totally. And I see someone like mentioning, well, if a team uses all of the same armor ability, it'll be broken. Like, for example, let's say take Armor Lock and Reach compared to the Hard Light Shield in Halo 4. If an entire team is using Hard Light Shield in Halo 4, my immediate counter, or what I think to counter that, is use the grenade perk. So I spawn with extra grenades now. And while that guy's unable to shoot, I can throw more grenades at his feet to take him out. I think that's pretty fair. I think that's like a good counter. It's not like a perfect counter, but if a team is using they're unable to shoot me and I can grenade them and kill them, it seems fair to me. I don't know. I think it deserves the chance. I don't think it's like, oh, broken, out of there.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then as far as game types at Dallas go, to touch on that, I could see them, the two things that to me, I could say, let's definitely not do these, would be no Infinity game types, where you get Ordnance, because Clicked and I talked about this a little earlier when I was streaming, but, like a 49-48 scenario, one team set up to get power weapons, but someone gets an Ordnance and gets rockets and just gets those basically, not free kills, because he did earn that ordnance, but I could see that being a highly debated topic, and for a first tournament of a game, you don't really want to see that. I think it might have its place with tweaks to certain weapon priority and what you get in drops, but I don't think the first tournament, it's almost a high-risk scenario. And then radar would be the only thing I would take out. I would play everything else default. I really would.
Another thing to add is somebody left a question talking about how we would feel about like armor abilities being an ordnance drop, and if we ever have to have, like, say we're doing Slayer Pro where there's no armor abilities and we have ordnance drops, so we can have, you know, say a BR ammo on the left and then like a power weapon on top and then an armor ability on the right or something, and so like say there's Promethean vision in that ordnance drop. I think if we do have armor abilities as ordnance drops in a Slayer Pro type game type, I think instead of having like one player that gets like infinite Promethean vision until he dies, I'm not sure if this is a setting, but I would like to see it. But you just, like, your meter for your armor ability is just a one-time thing. So if you have a jetpack, if you use up that entire meter, it won't recharge. So you can have like 1 or 2 uses out of Promethean vision, and then you're done until it respawns again.
Yeah.
So it might help out or help balance the armor abilities. Like if you have camo, it's just like the camo that we've seen as a power-up, but you can only use it at certain times. You can't use it the entire game.
Yeah. That'd be cool. And I'm sure we could do that if you put it like armor ability, like recharge rate. I think that was even an option in Reach. You could use like infinite armor ability, so you had like infinite jetpack. And I'm sure you could turn that down. So that's definitely an option. But like the biggest thing for me is just see how it plays out. You gotta just let it go and sort of let it grow up. And then if we need to make those tweaks, the options are there. So to me, it's like, yeah, I like the idea behind Slayer Pro, but at the same time, we've been in this whole discussion for so long about Halo, you know, dying and losing that casual base and the settings, this and that, and you know, it's been a thing, and it's something StarCraft's even going through right now. They're trying to bring in more casual players because League of Legends has now overshadowed them, and they're freaking out like we did not even, you know, 6 months ago. They're having the same exact discussion. People think StarCraft is dying because they can't bring in the casual audience. And guess what Destiny suggested that they brought into Halo 4 that he suggested for StarCraft is skins, which we now have. We have weapon skins. Destiny, a well-known StarCraft guy, said, well, what if they had, you know, downloadable, buyable skins for Terran and Zerg and all these things just to bring in that casual audience. So it's there for a reason. And I know we're competitively driven, we're competitively focused, but the skins, regardless of your opinion, you don't have to use them. They're there for a purpose, and we're trying to build up a casual audience. We saw what happened with Reach. It wasn't the best thing in the world. Everyone can agree with that.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to, you know, hey, guys who didn't like Halo, come back over here. We got something for you. You like skins? Here's a skin. Enjoy it. Like, you can put it on your gun, or you can't. It's up to you. Entirely your choice. But I think the stuff at the core of what they changed is good. They saw the disparities between Sprint and Reach and said, okay, this is something people choose all the time because it's so damn good. Give everybody it. We'll put in stopping power to tone it back and add some sort of balance and add some sort of negative factor that can occur if you're just herpa-derping the whole game. So on the whole, Halo 4 feels good to me. Like, final thoughts on, like, you know, Halo 4 is feeling good. I don't know. Like, I can't hate.
Like, I haven't been this excited for a game in, like, a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I love, actually, all the extra stuff, like, all the new guns and armor abilities and stuff. Like, I think just more customization is fun, and it's going to change the game up, and, like, it won't get stale for me because there's so much new stuff I can try out. And it adds a lot more options that you can have for competitive play. So, like, I wish people didn't just hate, like, for no apparent reason because it's fucking different. Like, just give it a chance and see how it plays and then judge it instead of watching a video.
Here's what I say. I came up with this setting, like, saying in the shower, and I wanted to say it to Frank O'Connor, like, in person. And I'm just going to say it here, and then Clicked, you can talk about it. If you look at Halo 4 through a microscope, you're going to find imperfections in it. And you will with any game. But if you take a step back and look at Halo 4 like you were looking down on, like, nature in this amazing mountain range, you're absolutely blown away with what 343 has done with this game. How much they've added, what they've changed. The game itself just looks so beautiful. Like, it's honestly the best looking game on 360 right now, hands down, in my opinion. And like they have this movie series, like Forward Unto Dawn, all these things. Like, if you're looking at Halo 4 from the top of a mountain, it's absolutely breathtaking. But anything, when looked at under a microscope, has imperfections. And that's really cheesy, but that's honestly how I feel about it. Like, it looks great. Clicked, anything?
Halo 4 is going to be an amazing casual game. I mean, I'm a competitive player. I've been playing MLG since 2006. And it's like, I know I'll have fun playing the default or casual game types. I just don't know how it's going to be when it comes to it being a competitive game. I mean, we were doing a live stream for Halo 3 not too long ago, and when we get Team ARs on Valhalla, like, we raged, but there are people out there that prefer ARs over BRs. And the great thing about Halo 4 is with these loadout things, you can have just one game type, and you can play the way you want. And so, like, another thing I wanted to touch on, and maybe we can have a discussion about this, is, like, with Halo 2, in my opinion, it was an accessible game. But it was easy to get into, but extremely difficult to master. Same thing with Halo 3. It was pretty easy to get into, but it was difficult to master, even though there were some, like, random factors like balloon, or not balloon, but spread with the BR. And after that successful MLG Columbus tournament, I got about a dozen people to buy Reach because they thought Reach looked fun. And they have, like, some, previous Xbox experience, but they just couldn't get into Reach because it was just, it's not accessible at all with all these random factors like bloom and the armor abilities and stuff like that. And I really do believe that Halo 4 is going to be an accessible game. Not saying it's going to be easy, I just think it's going to be accessible for new players or people that played the other Halos or whatever. And then I feel like it's going to be difficult to master because we were talking about all these weapon balancing and the armor ability balancing and the perks, and I'm just hoping it's, a perfect game for everybody at least.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, imagine you came from Call of Duty 4, not having played, like, Halo 3, and got Reach because you thought, oh, I haven't gotten into Halo yet, it's a prequel, this and that, and you get into the game, and the mechanics itself are so different, to be honest, from even, like, a Rainbow Six, from, Medal of Honor, Battlefield 3. You have weapons that just appear, and if you've never played a Halo game before, how would you know that, right? It seems obvious to us the stuff we just overlook and accept in a Halo game might not be, understood by a casual player. And yeah, maybe it decreases the skill gap, and maybe it does this and that, and yeah, maybe I sound like maybe you're mad at me because I'm, like, accepting the casual point of view. That's fine, but it's gonna bring in more of an audience, and it's gonna get casual players to play your game longer because why does that guy have a rocket launcher? Like, where the hell did he pick up a rocket launcher from? Why can't I choose a rocket launcher like Call of Duty, And now it's sort of there. So I see the changes they made and why, and is it a step towards Halo 1 and making the game this ultra-competitive title? Probably not. Is it a step towards revitalizing the Halo franchise, bringing a lot of new people in, and having an exciting game again? Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe you can hate me for that opinion, but, whatever.
I don't know. People just, if you want the game to stay alive and be picked up by, like, companies to have tournaments, like, you have to accept some changes, and you're going to have to accept some, like, casual stuff, because that's the only way to keep the game alive. Like, just deal with it.
Like I said before, it's not the pros or MLG that's paying for all of the builds for MLG. It's the guys that are amateur players that go to these tournaments are the ones that are supporting this game. Because the pros get in for free, and the guys that are amateur players, the guys that are outside of the top 16, or actually even the top 16, like, they have to pay, and they're putting a lot of money towards MLG, and MLG needs that. If people aren't buying these passes, it's not going to survive. So we need more people in, so we have to attract the casuals somehow.
Yeah, I'm gonna break that down, and then maybe we'll wrap up the show here and do some final thoughts. But the reason why League of Legends is successful is because it's an accessible game with a high skill gap. You can download that game for free, get into it, and get destroyed. Not know why, but it's kind of fun. Hopefully Halo 4 has that same effect, where you can get in, understand what's going on through the announcer. Yeah, the shit that pops up in the middle of your screen might be annoying, but it's going to go away. You're going to start tuning out the stuff that doesn't matter to your attention span, and it's going to be fine. Don't freak out about that stuff. But what it's going to do is it's going to be make the game more accessible to casual people who might not know what's going on. Yeah, the announcer might say obvious stuff a lot. Yeah, it might say you're carrying the flag on the top of your screen. But the thing is, that's going to get people in who might not have ever touched a Halo game before and get them to play it and hopefully get them to keep playing it. So what we need to understand is that that's where the growth starts in this community. And just throwing those people out the door and disregarding them is a step backwards with trying to rebuild Halo as this great competitive title. And the people, yeah, okay. And the next thing, revenue, people paying for this, why Halo is being streamed, why League of Legends is being streamed everywhere and gets 200,000 people tuned in. It's the casual people that watch the game and get ads thrown in their face. It's the ROI on that investment from big companies. Yeah, the prize pool isn't as much as the entrance fee. That's been the case since probably the frickin' Greeks ran the Olympics, all right? Do you know what you won? If you were a Greek and you won the Olympics, like old school when I first started, you won a wreath around your head and you got your name carved somewhere, man. And you guys are complaining, right? Just take a look back at history. Imagine you're a Spartan or whatever. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, like, you're getting a pretty good cut is what I'm saying. And the ROI is coming from those stream numbers. So the casual people watching is where you want to be. That's a good thing. And Halo 4 is the starting thing. So if you're watching this tournament and you're not telling your friends, you're messing up. Tell your friends who've never played Halo before. And you know what? Because 343 put in those indicators that show where the weapons are, that say when people are carrying the flag, and the announcer that announces a bunch of obvious stuff to you who's been playing Halo since, 2004 or whatever, it's going to keep that casual person still watching because they can know what's going on. It's doing a huge benefit to the community, to be honest. It's making the game more accessible to people watching from home and getting ads thrown in their face on stream. That's the point. That's why League of Legends is an esport, because people can watch from home and they'll sit through ads. That's why StarCraft 2 is a great esport, because people can look at the game from a perspective of not playing and understand what's going on, and now it's in Halo and you guys are complaining. So don't. It's good, all right? Oh, it can't drop the flag, whatever. You're going to have, like, hundreds of thousands of people streaming and watching and all this crap now, and they're going to have a better sense of what's going on if they're a casual player from these things that you hate. So deal with it. It's a good thing. And yeah, if you have a problem with that, if you have a problem with more people watching your game and you think you deserve this little niche of BR only, nothing on the map, sorry, times have changed, you're going to have to deal with the fact that it lets you know you're carrying the flag while you're carrying the flag. And if you guys have any closing statements, go for it. If not, we'll wrap it up and I'll do our promotions and we'll end there.
Well, one thing. I was talking about how after MLG Columbus, I got about a dozen people to buy Reach. And Reach is awful, but they still had fun with it. It was just really difficult for people to get into the game, like, competitively or whatever. And, it's just like, if everybody here can at least bring in like one person to watch MLG Dallas for Halo 4, that's going to make a huge impact. I mean, we brought Halo back. We're doing a great job, but we're not done yet. Just because we got an MLG event, that doesn't mean we should stop. We need to get more people involved. Once Dallas comes around, make sure you post it on Twitter, talk to your friends about it on Facebook, whatever, and maybe we can see what happens from there. Because Dallas might be the last Halo tournament. We don't know.
Yeah, it's stream numbers. Tune in. Absolutely 100% tune in. All right, Unbreakable, anything?
Yeah, I think Frank's rant kind of said my opinion.
I got that off my back.
If you care at all about Halo, like, regardless of the settings, just try to watch it and watch MLG. Like, I mean, obviously they're going to change the settings after the event based on feedback, but just watch it and try to support the game that you're all obviously caring about because you're here right now. Yeah.
And I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant again just to answer a question, but Ooze in chat says, how does putting a waypoint over the flag help? It's spectator experience, man. We don't have a spectator mode. So what's the next best thing? Giving the people watching at home as much information as possible in conjunction with the casters who have access to all 8 screens, what's going on at the time in the game. If they can see the flag being run there with no waypoint, How is the spectator going to know unless the broadcaster or caster is constantly talking about, oh, he's running through Green Hall, but then you're missing all this other stuff. With all this extra information that 343 is putting on screen, it's honestly the next best thing to a spectator mode. You're going to know when the ordnance drops are coming down, when the weapons are going to spawn, what weapons have spawned, where, like, when people are going for those weapons, when the weapons have been picked up, where the flag's going, when the flag's been capped, all without the caster constantly having to remind everyone. It's the next best thing to a spectator mode we have is the amount of information displayed on screen. And guess what? After 5 games, you're not even going to notice that extra crap. It's how your brain works. Literally. That's science. What doesn't matter to your brain gets tuned out of your brain. Alright? So that's it, guys. That's it. If you need to, the rant will be on YouTube if you need to relive the magic or whatever. HaloCouncil.com. This has been episode 1 of Social Skirmish, the reboot, season 2. I have the best guests in the world. If you missed Curse Lemon's part, he was on at the beginning too. That VOD will be up. Guys, send off, plug your stuff. I know Click's got a YouTube. Nathan, you've got a Twitter. Talk about your stuff for a minute, and we'll close this guy out.
Who's starting?
You do it. It's all you.
Woo! Okay, I don't care about my Twitter, but you can go to my YouTube at youtube.com/xclicked. I have a lot of stupid videos, and there's going to be more coming out very soon.
Yep.
Yeah, hit me up on Twitter. I'd love to hear your opinions about Halo 4 or the show or whatever. And apparently, Siren said that there's a new Halo commercial coming on FX at 10:37 Eastern time. So go watch that.
This guy is so darn precise. Yeah. So guys, HaloCouncil.com. All right. Here's the promotion stuff. Stay tuned. Literally, we have the newest, coolest freaking site on the web coming out. Halo Council 2.0 is going to be launching soon, maybe within about a week. So be sure to follow at the Halo Council, follow me, follow at 2Critical, who's in charge of like the site, and at Sam Rambles, who's designing the site. It's going to be freaking intense. We're going to have guides up there, but not just guides like, oh, we're shooting a battle rifle. No, we have a whole guide section, and you're going to be able to submit your own content, and you're going to be able to upvote and downvote that content. That stuff might not be there at launch, but it's in the works. We're going to have a new overhaul on the forums, a new overhaul on the front page, an entire stream center, so if you're a streamer, you can watch 1, 2, 4 streams maybe at the same time. Probably, definitely. So be tuned in for that, all right? Then subscribe to our YouTube, because we do a lot of videos. We also do a lot of trolling if you watched a video in the last couple days or so. Maybe. I don't know if I was responsible for that. Kappa, not going to say. But that's youtube.com/the Halo Council. Shout-outs to, Nexi, Gandhi, Bestman, everyone who couldn't. Bestman couldn't be here. He had some job stuff to do. But yeah, so do that. Follow me on Twitter. That's at u4iXXX. I have a YouTube as well. That's youtube.com/FrankTheShow. And Clicked and I are going to be doing some awesome series coming up, with Halo 4 and all this stuff and streaming and that. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We're going to keep this up every Tuesday. Obviously, it might be hard when Halo 4 launches because everyone's just going to want to play that, but we'll see. We'll see if you guys will watch that, maybe. But yeah, thanks, guys. I'm u4iX. These are my awesome guests, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Love you.
Later.
All right.